Today we're continuing our journey in Peter's footsteps, and we're pairing Peter with verses from Come Thou Fount. Today we finally get this really great moment for Peter. We've had some less than stellar moments for him, and we're going to get some more, don't worry. But today we are at Peter's Praise the Mount, I'm fixed upon it moment, right? Peter's mountaintop faith moment, where in the reading that we just heard, everything makes sense, even if just for a moment. He can see God, he can see Jesus clearly, and he gets it right, y'all. God, it feels so good to him after sinking last week. He gets it right. He is confident in his conviction. He has this clarity about his view of the divine, what Jesus is doing, and it changes him. He gets a new name, Peter. You are Petros, and I will, on this Petra, on this rock, build my church. He gets a view of his purpose, his identity. He is affirmed by Jesus. He's invited deeper into Jesus' work. He gets it. And then he loses it real quickly. The next paragraph, if you kept reading, you're going to see him rebuking Jesus and then being rebuked by Jesus and even being called Satan. So high highs and low lows for Peter these weeks. But we're going to talk more about that next paragraph next week. We're going to stay in this mountaintop space just for now. Because even though the mountaintop moment is brief, even though it might be fleeting, it doesn't make it any less important in his journey, does it? It might even make it more important as something to hold on to as things start to slip through his grasp. As we've seen in Peter's life and in our own lives, faith isn't linear. It would be so nice if it was, right? If it was like one of those graphs that just goes up and up and up. But we know that that's not true. That's not our experience. That's not the experience of the disciples. Our understanding, our faith ebbs and flows. Life with Jesus is not smooth sailing all the time. The work of the divine in our world is so much bigger than any one of our experiences, and so beyond any of our growth metrics or what we would expect should be happening for us. So different than our ways of thinking and being. And the truth is that maybe the best we can hope for are glimpses of clarity, right? Glimpses of these mountaintop moments. You're not doing it wrong if your faith life looks like this, right? Peter's is like that too. And those glimpses that we do get sometimes feel a little bit like the now you see it, now you don't, right? Sleight of hand tricks of a magician. Like we've got it and then we don't really get it anymore, just like Peter. Like, I've heard Arnold talk about some ghost sightings in the church. I have not personally seen them, but in his estimation, he's seen something out of the corner of his eye. It's been there, and then when you look back, it's gone. So has anybody had experiences like that? You think you see something, you think something mystical is happening, and then pretty soon it's out of your grasp again. It's like if you're not, if you don't have any ghost sightings, if you're like me, then for me it's like having an epiphany in the middle of the night. You wake up and everything makes total sense, and you know you're going to remember it in the morning, right? It's life-changing. Then you wake up, and what's happened? Oh, it's gone, right? It's gone. The way of Jesus is not a simple journey, and as soon as we think we've got it, a lot of times, as soon as we think, okay, we understand, it's clear, my faith is firm, I've got God pinned down, then we lose our grasp pretty quickly. We find ourselves surprised or confused or maybe disappointed or even rebuked. Back to square one, right? I love the artwork on the front of our bulletin. I want y'all to take a look at it really quick because I think it illustrates this in such a beautiful way. All of our artwork is gorgeous. It's by several different artists in the Sanctified Art bundle. But this one was just really speaking to me. This is a portrait of Jesus and Peter, and it's called Who Do You Say That I Am? by Lauren Wright Pittman. And I just want to read a portion of Lauren's artist statement so that you can see some of the detail and some of the things that she's trying to do with this. So if you don't have a bulletin, there are more in the back. You're welcome to go grab one. But take a look at this picture, and let me just read a little bit of what Lauren, the artist, has written. She says, "In this image, I wanted to create a kaleidoscope of perception, imaging the ways Jesus is perceived in the context of the passage, like light broken down into a myriad of shapes and colors. In the gold rays of light, Jesus' form is obscured by the metallic shine of God's glory. In the gray and earth tone rays, he is seen in monochrome. Each of the earth tone rays holds a pattern on Jesus' clothing, which represents a misunderstanding of who Jesus is. Starting on the left, there's honey, locust, and baptismal waters, misidentifying him as John the Baptist. Within the next ray to the right, you see ravens, an empty chair, rain, and fires from the heavens, misidentifying him as Elijah. Right? And then on the right, scales of justice and plants being uprooted and planted, misidentify him as Jeremiah. Through the middle of the image, there is a ray of light where the image comes into full color that holds this moment of clarity, where Jesus and Peter truly see one another. In this ray, Peter's clothing holds symbols of his new identity, a rock upon which the church will be built, and keys to the kingdom. I think we see fish in the monochrome part of Peter's. That makes sense. He's a fisherman. Jesus' clothing in that bright ray holds imagery, an oil jar and the light of the sun, representing the way Peter sees him as the Messiah and the Son of the living God. Isn't that amazing? Can we just give a shout out to Lauren, please, on it? That's beautiful. The whole text is right there in image form. And in most of the picture, Jesus is either obscured, right, or totally misunderstood. We've got that grayed out part. But then there's that one ray of clarity. And it's bursting forth. It's just a glimpse, right? This is the ray where Peter sees Jesus, where Jesus sees Peter. You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. So much of our lives and our faith life is searching for the divine, right? And so much of it is obscured by either holy brilliance and mystery that we can't quite see through, or misunderstandings who other people say Jesus is, who we think he might be, but maybe we're close but don't have it quite right. Most of our lives we don't feel confident. We can't quite understand exactly who Jesus is, what he means, what he's doing if he's here in our world today. I look around sometimes and feel disappointed, confused, hopeless. And yet, there are those moments, those rays that shine through for us too, right? Of clarity. Even if they're here now and gone the next moment. Moments of clarity, of divine revelation, of seeing and being seen by God. Just moments here and there, glimpses. Mountaintop moments like Peter had, where for just a second we get it. We feel and know the truth about God. Our lives make sense. God's presence in them makes sense and are in full color, like in the picture on your bulletin. And in those moments, it changes us, right? We are given a new identity, maybe new names. We see ourselves differently. We feel that affirmation, the alignment, the depth of our relationship with God. And then, in the next moment, maybe the next paragraph of our own stories, we're saying something stupid like Peter. We've lost it. The glimpse may be all that we get, but those glimpses are important. They can sustain us. Don't poo-poo it because it's gone the next day. When we are in times of gloom and doubt and despair and hopelessness, we can go back to those moments of clarity, those mountaintop moments where we know something to be true about God. And even if in the moments that follow we're not so sure, we can go back and hold on to the moments when we were. And we can tell those truths to each other, to hold each other up in our moments where we're living in the grayscale, right? So I'm curious about what the glimpses are, what those rays of divine clarity are for you. When you think back about your life, what were the moments that you saw God, that you felt seen by God? What are those moments that you hold on to and come back to? For me, I think about a few examples. Having my babies, right? Moments of clarity, shifting priorities. And I know in those moments when I go back to them, God is love, right? I can say I knew that to be true. Whether I feel it later or not, I can go back to that moment and hold on to that truth. That is my confession. Or maybe it's a moment in nature. I remember being on a little hike in my neighborhood last year around this time, and it was just this beautiful moment. No other people were around, but there were butterflies swarming me. I felt like a Disney princess. I was connected with nature, and I knew God is present with me. God is present with me. I don't always feel that, but I can go back to that moment and remember that conviction and hold on to that in the times where I don't quite feel that presence so strongly. Sometimes it's the hard moments in our lives. I remember after my first marriage ended, being at the bottom of my own emotional, spiritual life, and this was, 15 years ago, and I still remember so vividly just laying on the floor and weeping and crying out to Jesus. And this feeling of peace that came over me. And I don't know how to explain that, and that doesn't, I can't call that forth. That hasn't happened to me every time that I've prayed, but that moment I can go back to and remember that feeling and remember that God is peace, that God is forgiveness. I can stake my faith on some of those moments like that when it's harder to see those moments a lot of the time. So what are those moments for you? What's a moment that was like a mountaintop moment, a moment of clarity? Maybe something in a painful time in your life, maybe something in a really beautiful time in your life. But what's coming to your mind as you're hearing me tell some of my stories? Share those with a neighbor. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. What's a moment where you felt some clarity about who God is? And what would you say about who God is? What's the mantra that you can take from that? If you don't mind, find a friend and just take a couple minutes to share an experience or something true that you can hold on to, that you hold on to from that moment. If you don't want to, you can also feel free to just reflect in your own heart or journal or whatever you'd like to do. But I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Just find a friend, just 1 or 2 other people so you both have time to share. And then we'll come back together in about 2 or 3 minutes, okay? All right.
Thank you for using my Begging for clarification.
I am loving this holy chatter. I am loving this. So many good stories, important moments to share. Thank you so much for doing that. And please keep sharing with each other after worship and into Soul Food Sunday. Now, I want to invite you, help me bring this thing home. What do you believe? Who do you say that Jesus is? In those moments, what are the things you hold on to? Shout it out. Just in a sentence or a word or a phrase. God is love, right? What else? Peace and forgiveness. Yeah, God is peace and forgiveness. What else? Comfort, I heard. Yeah, grace, I think. God is grace. Yeah.
Hope.
Hope. Oh, what else? Sorry? Revealer. Is that what you said? Okay, revealer. Yeah. Awesomeness. Oh, I love it. Excellent. What else? In control. I don't know where that came from, but yes. I love it. God is, oh, was that you, Aubrey? In control. Awesome. Anything else? I know in whom I have believed. I am persuaded. Oh, when you're going to do something wrong, you know God is keeping you. God is holding you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else? Yeah. Please help me be the person that my dog thinks I am. I love it. And God sees you. Isn't that beautiful? God sees you as beautiful and good as your dog thinks you are. Anything else? Anything up here that I missed? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's it, y'all. Regardless of the ups and downs, the twists and turns, the mistakes we make, the misunderstandings that we have, we can hold on to what we know is true. What we know is true, what we've seen. We can tell those things to each other, hold each other up in all the hard times. That's the good news. That ray of God that you've seen and known just for a moment, that is real. And that is important, and you can hold on to that. We're not always on the mountaintop, but sometimes we are. Praise the Mount. Don't rush through that. Go back to those moments. Praise the Mount. I'm fixed upon it. Mount of God's unchanging love. Thanks be to God. Amen.